Good morning. It's Wednesday, March 22nd, and I want to talk about an interesting study that I found online. And the study is a health study. And our health has changed dramatically from 2018 till now, because we had 2 years before the pandemic, and then we had 3 years of pandemic. And I can tell you right now in personal experience that it seems that the pandemic has been lightened a little bit. And I judge that based upon the fact that when I was visiting Gertrude in the hospital just recently, every other day I had to take a COVID test in order to show that I was negative. But on the last couple of days, the test was suspended. They weren't taking COVID tests anymore. So COVID seems to have drifted into the past. But when COVID struck, an interesting thing happened in this country. There was a survey going on, and it continued all through the pandemic. And this was something that was a step count survey. Can you imagine that people were counting their steps every day? And these steps were being counted by mostly women. Many of the 6,000 participants in this particular survey were women, and they were white women mostly, with an average age of 53. And at one point during this survey, in October of 1922, the study showed that overweight people could lower their risk of obesity by 64%. if they increased the number of steps taken a day from 6,000 to 10,000 per day. That seems like a huge increase. I don't know how long it takes to take 5,000 more steps. But that was the number that they were throwing around. And the step counts from January 1st to 2018 to January 31st of 2020 were considered pre-COVID step counts. And the steps tracked after that date until the end of 2021 was pretty much when this survey actually ended. The results showed no difference in identified step activity based upon sex, obesity, diabetes, or any other illnesses or conditions, much like coronary heart disease, hypertension, or cancer. So there was no difference in activity based upon those particular traits, let me call them. People who took the fewest steps were socially, economically disadvantaged, under psychological stress, and not vaccinated. So you see, not being vaccinated was only a sign of the fact that these people weren't healthy, or they didn't care about their health that much. It's an interesting thing that they bring that out, that the fewer steps belong to people who were under psychological stress and not vaccinated. So I guess that there are people in this world who really didn't care about their health, and so that's why they were fighting the vaccination. Now, age also mattered a lot in this study, but it was an unexpected matter. They did not realize, they did not expect age to be this big a factor. But people over 60 were not impacted by the pandemic, the study found. They continued to keep their steps up. Now, maybe that had something to do with the way we were working during the pandemic. Maybe many people over 60 were retired, and they could keep their steps up, right? You keep walking, you do things, but you didn't have to go to work. But younger people between 18 and 30, whose step counts were most impacted, the study said, we found that in that 10-year age decrease, they were 243 steps less than the older group. So if that persists over time, these younger people are risking cardiovascular disease, obesity, hypertension, diabetes, and other conditions that are strongly linked to being sedentary. So if you didn't have a certain amount of steps, you were considered to be sedentary. Now maybe you became more sedentary if you worked at home more often. So the question rose in their minds is, why would younger generations lose steps while the older people did not. Now, I can attribute that to the fact that older people maybe retired and took time off and had plenty of time to walk around, And maybe age had something to do with intelligence. Not that older people are more intelligent, but older people tend to watch out for certain things that younger people don't. Older people probably have lived a long time and have much more experience, and therefore they behave differently in situations of crisis. Let me call this a crisis. Whereas maybe the younger people were trapped working from home. Because remember, many of the workers in the younger age groups are in technology and software and other professions where they can work from anywhere. So if you can work from anywhere and you're working from home, you're probably not requiring yourself to take that many steps. In fact, if you're working from home, you may not walk to the luncheonette to eat. You just march off to the kitchen and grab some food. But whatever the reason was, the study showed that people were not moving as much during the pandemic as they used to. And that worried the takers of the survey. The bottom line is, if this trend remains in action, so to speak, we could be very, very unhealthy in a few more years. We could have some very, very unhealthy generation. We should insist that people take periodic breaks to do exercise. And that has been proven to improve mental clarity and acuity. So stay active, stay healthy. You'll be wiser, smarter, more comfortable with your life. That's my reasoning, not necessarily the reasoning of the survey. But it seems to indicate that step count is a viable alternative to other forms of measuring health. So I leave you with that wild situation this morning. Count your steps. Keep marching on. Take care. Have a great day.